Good evening. We're interviewing a singer, songwriter, guitar player, John Lyle here today. We've been chasing John for a long time, and we've finally managed to catch him. Welcome, John. Well, thanks very much for having me. It's great to be here. I think a lot of people who know your recordings and enjoy your songs really wonder what it is about live performing that you dislike so much. Well, dislike is probably not a strong enough word. I'm of the Glenn Gould, Larry David school of performing. I just fall apart in front of an audience. I immediately lose my sense of time, which is pretty disastrous when you're trying to play music. Well, how bad could it really be now, John? It's not as though the audience wants you to fail. I mean, they're not paying money to come and see you fail. They want to have a good time. They want to see you succeed. How do you know they want me to succeed? Have you ever been to a hockey game? You know, they want you to succeed as long as you're being successful and fulfilling their expectations, and as soon as you show any kind of weakness or fail in any way or other, they devour you, and that's that's something I can't get out of my head when I'm going to play for a group of people, especially people I know. People you know. Yeah. I'll give you an example that I've tried to delete from my memory, but it's still very vivid. I was playing in Toronto at one of the biggest folk clubs in Toronto, and I spent the week being the opening act for a very famous blues musician named Bukka White, who wrote The Great Parchman Farm. Bukka the record company would bring him a bottle of Southern Comfort every night before he played, and I had a bottle of Bulgarian wine, and I had to buy that myself. And he was I liked Bukka. He was a very suspicious man, and but I liked him. He didn't seem to trust anybody really, and he was every day looking for the manager of the club, who he was afraid was going to stiff him, and who in the end did stiff me. His name was Neil, and Bukka always called him Heel, which was probably closer to his real name. To make a long story short, I don't think it's possible to make a long story short, because that was one of the longest evenings I spent in my life. I was just about to go on, and I could not find my flat pick. And there was not. This is a folk club with guitar players in and out of the basement of this place, and there was not a flat pick to be found in that green room. And Bukka White used only a gigantic thumb pick. And Bukka very generously offered to lend me his thumb pick for my performance, and I had no choice but to borrow his thumb pick. Oh, I see. So I got on stage, and I was always very apprehensive going on stage. The club was packed. There were writers from the big Toronto newspapers coming to review the show, and I got up on stage with my guitar, which I had not polished, and because I was going more for the John Prine kind of a rough-hewn look, with the managers of the club really wanted me to polish the guitar and not drink But then if I had, I guess I could have got away with playing the guitar, but if I had not been drinking, I would have played the songs so quickly they wouldn't have sold any drinks whatsoever. But anyway, I got up on stage, and I looked in the audience, and there in the front row was a man that a young man that I had known at university, and he was waving at me, and I immediately felt the bottom falling out of my being. Well, that's very interesting, John. My heart started palpitating, and I went into my first song, and the thumb pick in the first couple of bars of music got caught in the strings, and I managed to extricate the pick and keep on going, and I played my entire set in that fashion, catching the thumb pick in the strings, and looking at this guy that I knew from university, who I hadn't seen since I had come east to seek my fortune in show business. I hadn't seen him, and I never liked the guy in the first place. But after the show, I had to actually walk through the audience. There wasn't any curtain you could escape to and crawl backstage and get out. I had to walk through the audience, and I could tell they were all feeling sorry for me, and that is the absolute worst feeling. I would rather they were angry at me and started throwing things at me like all the great bar band people go through, playing behind chicken wire. I would rather it had been like that, but it was worse than that. They were feeling sorry for me, and I could not get out of that room without being accosted by this guy I'd gone to university with, and he said something inane like, "Great set, man." Yeah, that's one of a number of high-profile disasters where I would work very, very hard to get a big gig, like a radio or a television gig or a club gig or whatever that people coveted. There are gigs that people wanted, and I would get it. And the live performance aspect of it would just blow up in my face, and it finally dawned on me that I was not a natural performer, that I was way too concerned with the feelings of the audience, and if I could have just really thought of them all as cabbages, then which they may have been, but I just couldn't do that. I may have been able to have some successful performances